There we are, live again. Drinking my flavored sparkling water. Refreshing in the afternoon. Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome again to the Scaling Up Business Podcast. Today, what happened to that? Boom, music dead. I wasn't ready for it just to be dead. Now we have two different musics coming in. Crazy. There you go. All right. So listen, today's conversation is really what can we learn about leadership, performance, coaching people from a dog trainer? I know that it's like coaching people, raising performance is some of the hardest stuff we do. And we'd make it simple and see what we could learn from somebody who's trained dogs for a living. So listen in. I think you'll enjoy this conversation. Hi, everyone. Welcome again to the show. I'm Bill Gallagher, your friendly neighborhood scaling up coach. Host of the show. We bring a new show like this every week to you. We actually, as of today, we bring one twice a week to you. So we've got a tip on Tuesday, and then we've got a full interview show on Wednesday, and we've got a whole other third show in the works right now that we're about to release. So we'll have soon 3 shows a week, which I'm very excited about. We've been expanding the show during this time. And now we've got more of them coming on video, but we've done over, I think this is somewhere in the neighborhood of 235 now. So we've been doing it for a few years on all the decisions related to people, strategy, execution, cash, and what I like to call the 5th decision around leadership. What kind of leader will you be? What kind of leader do you need or want to be? We're getting into that. We'll certainly be touching on that a little bit today. But anyway, that's the of the show. If you're looking for some topic that we haven't covered or that we reference in today's show, you'll find all of those and more along with all the tools at scalingcoach.com. So that's where it all lives and where you'll find all that back catalog, which is really great if you are learning or you need to figure out we've got to update our vivid vision, or I need to figure out this piece on my cash decision, or whatever it is. Go to scalingcoach.com and find all of that there. So I want to welcome to the show now, Dylan Blau. Blau? Did I say it right?
Yeah, thank you.
Dylan Blau. Where are you, Dylan?
I'm in Huntington Beach, California, like south of LA.
There you go. I was there recently with one of our clients and doing some work, and it's fun. It's lovely down there. Surf City.
Yeah, Surf City, USA. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's beautiful here. It's just starting to become fall.
So, Dylan, I don't have a ton. I'll let him tell more of the story, but Dylan does a range of coaching today, but he's been a dog coach probably more than anything, right?
Yeah,
I've been trying some interesting things about that parallel between people and dogs that he's going to share with us. And I think that's what I was excited about, this little bit different angle on the show. So I'm grateful to cover this topic.
I appreciate you having me here because it's definitely a different conversation than what most people are used to hearing. And people definitely think about dogs differently than they think about themselves, obviously. So, yeah, it's definitely a fun topic to talk about, especially when it comes to business and entrepreneurship and leadership and stuff like that.
But, whether you're a no pet person, a dog person, or a cat person, that the people on our teams, as well as the people in our lives and the furry friends in our lives, they all have their own personalities and quirks and things like that. We have 2 dogs here, and they are different as night and day from each other.
I can imagine. What kind of dogs do you have?
So we have 2 rescue dogs. They're both kind of Chihuahua blends. One is super, super smart and neurotic as hell, like terrified of everything and super cautious, careful, but but really smart, really a good communicator. The other one seems dumb as hell, but she is friendly and sweet, and then a little cranky sometimes. You like pick her, but they're both getting to be older. So.
Very nice. Yeah, I got 2 rescue dogs also. My every time I do an interview or a Zoom call, my dogs always come out thinking that they're going to be on the show or something. It's so funny. You can probably see the tail wagging here.
Yes. Yeah. So, tell us about your background as a dog trainer, coach. Talk about that. Give a picture of that. How did you get into that? How long have you been doing that? What have you done there?
Yeah, so I've been training dogs for 13 years now. And for me, I grew up with golden retrievers. So I just always loved dogs. And I was, given the opportunity when I was living in Arizona to go to the rescues and, work with some of the extreme aggression cases while I was kind of learning about dog training. And I realized I could help these dogs work through their problems. And that just kind of changed the trajectory of my life. And I ultimately, dove deep into becoming a dog trainer. I've trained thousands of extreme aggression and behavior cases, and what I've really learned is it is 100% a reflection of, the consistencies or inconsistencies within the day-to-day routine. The environment plays a huge factor in a dog's development as well. And then ultimately, I just continued to see how the human aspect of training dogs was just as important as training a dog. And it just made my curiosity as an entrepreneur and somebody that loves psychology ultimately to, kind of really see that there's all these little things that really are synonymous with humans and dogs. I talked recently with somebody about how the common misconception is don't humanize your dog, and humanizing your dog is putting a bow tie on it or giving it a lot of love. Well, to me, humanizing a dog means being a parent, and being a parent means taking responsibility for your child's outcome, their well-being, their development, and everything that happens to them until they're ready to, go off in life and do something. So, humanizing to me means taking responsibility, being active and responsible. And yeah, dog training has just been my gateway to learn about social media, to learn about marketing, sales, advertising, coaching humans, coaching business owners. And it's been amazing. So it's really, it's been, kind of the core to everything that I've achieved as an entrepreneur. And it just continues to be an entry point for more opportunities.
Now, it's fascinating. Are you now coaching human beings as well, or just dogs?
Yeah, so I have a few things that I do. I train dogs. I continue to do that, and I'll always do that. But I also ultimately coach and mentor business owners. I give strategies for their business for long-term success. But yeah, I work with owners, and I guess the easiest way to make a comparison is most business owners and entrepreneurs are struggling to work through something. Whether it's their own personal limiting beliefs, whether it's their confusion with what their next move should be. But just like dogs, if they get confused, they shut down. Well, guess what? Humans do the same thing. I don't go to Starbucks because it's overwhelming with the menu. I need simplicity, and that helps us make decisions. Go on.
So before you move on to that, how did you make the leap, if you will, from dog to human training? What was the entree, or what created that first opening? Because I wouldn't think right off the bat that somebody would be like, wow, you're fantastic with my dog. Would you train my COO?
So you're 100% right. 100% right. It has been a very difficult pivot to make sure that people can see that what I do as a business owner is easily translated from my dog training past to how I can help people. One, I would say a few years ago when I realized that training dogs is obviously about training people. I have saved marriages. I have helped people work through family, disorder, and chaos. So realizing that I'm literally like a therapist to some of these people that I'm training their dog to. I'm actually impacting their lives more by just working with them. So I realized what I was doing years ago. And then during the COVID pandemic, ultimately what needed to happen was any dog trainer really needed to capitalize on social media and getting their brand online. And I proved that I could do that multiple times over the years. And I offered free social media strategy calls, and I would just talk to people for hours and give them advice. And through this last year, I've ultimately given hundreds of dog trainers free advice, as well as, additional services and stuff to make sure that they could survive and thrive the pandemic. That ultimately led to, my talent agency now of the Blau agency, where I can help anybody. And it just became a necessity. And it was, hey, you have all these connections. You've been in the industry. You have the knowledge. You have to help people. And that's what, I ultimately did during COVID. And that allowed me to become the coach that I really knew I wanted to be. And it just kind of gave me that boost because I offered free help. So I learned a lot about myself and how to coach people through this pandemic, really in perfecting my craft, I would say. But I would say also over the years, I've really learned that I work, one-on-one with my clients. My job is to help them understand how to do everything with their dog that they need to live a lifetime of success and happiness. I tell my clients, I'm not here to impress you. I want you to be able to impress me by the time we're done. I'm not going to show you the magic trick. I want to teach you how to do the magic trick. And that's how coaching kind of became, well, that's what I'm doing with social media. That's what I'm doing with business. I'm teaching you the magic trick that I've learned with everything that I know.
So back to the dogs. You're coaching dogs, right? Talk to us about what do you notice in that, and how has that been? And naturally, that'll take us to the things you notice in people. What is it in that environment? Tell us about dogs.
So, when it comes to dogs, there's three huge factors that come into how dogs are trained and how they need to learn. They need clarity, right? They need clarity and direction, so they understand what they're supposed to do. They need consistency, so they're able to ultimately learn muscle memory, and they understand these commands like that, right? The other thing they really need is confidence. You need to build a dog's confidence, so when you're giving them the clarity and direction and the consistency, they're truly able to succeed and become their true potential. With dogs, I believe it's a dog owner's responsibility to bring out your dog's true potential. And that just comes down to life in general. Now, the other main thing with dogs is if you do not have a dog's attention, you can't train them. So you have to get their attention and you have to keep it. And that boils down to what distracts them. And again, if you can isolate what distracts your dog or you can ultimately figure out a way to get your attention back on what you need to and eliminate the distractions that prevent you from learning and growing. Exactly. Facebook, Instagram, all of the social media, like I understand people use social media for business. People use social media to make money, but then the large majority of people use Facebook for entertainment. Right? There's people doing podcasts. There's people watching podcasts. Now, this can be your dog could be a distraction. The Tickle Me Elmo might be a distraction. The whatever
distract you.
Whatever it is. I think you really gotta figure out what distracts you, and then you can figure out how to get your attention back on what you need to. And that's what dog training is all about: is just having fun, getting your dog's attention, and then teaching them step by step what you want. And it's just amazing that it boils down to a similar amount of things that you hear over and over again with coaching humans in business and life and stuff like that.
So I definitely hear this business of getting someone's attention in the beginning. You can't coach somebody or work on somebody's performance that doesn't want to be worked on. doesn't want to work on it themselves. If they're not interested, there's, like the thing you can lead a horse to water, right? But you can't make them drink. You say, okay, I got this thing. Do you want to step up? Do you want coaching? Do you want training? Whatever. If they're not interested, they're not interested. If they're not, and even if they go through the motions of it because you're paying them or you're mandating, doesn't mean they'll actually do anything differently, right? So that first one, I feel like he's getting attention.
But you bring up motivation, and I hear a lot of people talking about how you need positive reinforcement to build stuff, and to kind of have these pillars of success. Also. Having discipline, the negative side of things. You need to have a form of consequence. Maybe you just don't reward yourself, and that's the negative, but you need some form of discipline, some consequence, and some way to hold yourself accountable. So motivation is a huge aspect to how you can train a dog. That's why so many people love using treats. I use my voice, I use my body, I move around, I do a dance, and I find that you have to get the dog's attention. And if you can find a way to motivate them. But sometimes the motivator doesn't get their attention. Sometimes the motivator might deter them, or they're unable to accept it. I'll give you an example. With dogs, if they're scared, anxious, nervous, confused, any of those things, they won't take a treat. They won't take the reward because they're not in a state of mind to accept it. They're more worried about what's going on. So when it comes to sometimes business owners, they may not be able to take the hand that's coming out saying, I'm willing to help you. I have lots of people that don't take advantage of the free social media strategy call. It's free. Just talk to me. I just want to have a conversation with somebody. I enjoy talking about business and social media. Some of my Zoom calls go to like 6 hours long, and they're completely free to the public. And it's just, I'm having fun. So, when you can get people's attention, you can keep it for as long as you want at the end of the day, just like a dog, and you can train them every minute of the day, and they're always learning.
So the first thing is getting the attention. The second thing you talked about is noticing what the distractions are, which seems to be about maintaining the attention, right? And as much about managing the environment as well as ourselves, knowing that we have certain triggers and distractions. Like, if an alert goes off on my phone, my watch, then my phone and my screen, and like everything all at once, I'm going to get distracted.
And you just said trigger. And dogs are triggered and become reactive. And guess what? You could get a text. It could be negative. It could be positive. You don't know what that news is, right? Right now, there's a lot of stuff on the news. It's triggering people. It's distracting people. And now they're reacting to it. And they're not focusing on what they should be focusing on because they lost the attention of what their true goal is. I truly believe that it almost doesn't matter who's president if you're focused on building your business, on building your brand, on learning, on collaborating, on networking, and continuing to focus on the right things. If you're distracted for the next year, how about the next 30 days? Black Friday, Cyber Monday. This is one of the biggest holiday seasons in history for online sales. It's amazing what's about to happen because people aren't going to be waiting in lines at stores. It's all going to be online. If you're distracted over the next 2 weeks, you could miss out on a huge opportunity to capitalize on this holiday season online. So, yeah, I just, you got to stay focused. And, at the end of the day, when I train dogs, I have an intention for what I'm going to do once I get their attention. Once you get their attention, you need to have an intention. And that leads to what I'm actually working on. And then depending on the learning process, what do I have to navigate through? What do I have to work the dog through, right? And that's just part of the process when you're talking with somebody, because they're not always going to understand. So you have to help them and keep them confident and keep them feeling good about the process, which also goes down to the way that I work with dogs. Sometimes I don't even say anything. I don't give the command. I just have the leash and I do this like Tai Chi dance. And I'm just in the zone, and it's not about force. It's not about, like really being a strict dog trainer. Like I'm just in the moment and I'm able to communicate effectively. And the same thing with an owner. Most dog owners have no clue about the things that I know. I can't be mean to them. I can't be degrading. I have to empower them. I have to help them learn and empower them so they do it and they feel good. And they never knew that I was just helping them see things that they've never, seen before. So the way that I coach my dog owners is how I coach my business owners and entrepreneurs and artists and stuff like that. Is I'm a genuine person that is here to help. There's a difference between sympathy and empathy. I have empathy towards the dogs that I train that have aggression and sympathy. So I understand why they act the way they do. Just like the drunk guy at the bar that sits at the corner every night and gets in a fight and yells and curses. He doesn't want to act that way. There's an underlying issue. And if we could humanize them and make them, somebody that we could relate to and understand, then out of nowhere we can connect. And I'm really good at connecting with that type of person and maybe helping them out of that situation because I can be empathetic, not sympathetic, and then not judgmental. And I don't judge a dog. Every dog's trainable. It doesn't matter how old they are, how aggressive. I've trained it, And even when I get bit by a dog, it's like it's my responsibility. I knew that there was a chance. If I'm talking to the guy at the bar, there's a chance that he might hit me. Okay, but I'm taking the risk because I want to have that conversation. And that's what dog training is about. And if I can train a dog, I can train a human, I can train a business owner, because I think a dog is probably harder to train than all of them because they don't speak English. They don't speak human. You got to literally create a language that they feel confident to trust you with, And I think that's what I do with coaching is I create a language that you can trust me with, and that I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, and it just becomes this trust building, and that's what dog training is: trust building.
So I'm guessing all of your business owners can sit and lay down, but can they all turn a profit?
Yeah, without a doubt. However, I'm confident to tell you that not everybody takes action. There are a lot of people I know that I've given those free social media calls to, and I've given some great ideas, great strategies, and nothing ever comes of it. That's kind of one of the. I don't think people realize as much as they lost. I also lost. I love believing in people, but it stinks that not everybody takes action. But yeah, without a doubt, I think.
Well, I think there's always, and there's obviously more complex psychology with a human being than with the dog. But I can remember coaching recently a friend who has an earlier stage company, and there was a really obvious social media strategy with this business. And we're like, oh, you just go and do some things like this and you'll get all kinds of attention. It'll be super fun and plenty viral. And he's like, yeah, no, I don't want to be that guy. I can see it and I'm not willing to go there. I'm like, okay, so it's good to notice that in your world, it's more important in the long run to keep this certain composure and appearance, identity, than it is to, drive those sales up in this business. And in fact, he was very straight about it. He was like, yes, I'm like, I don't want to do that.
I think you also have to be able to adapt. Not everybody wants to be like everyone else on social media. I think you got to find yourself. Sure. That's one of the things I love about TikTok is it's kind of allowed me to find my personality. But I think you got to find the way that you can do it. That guy might be a home run. I know so many people that go, I'm not going to be good on social media, and they are content gold, So I don't know. I feel like you can always adapt somehow.
You can. So then consistency is the other thing, like doing the same thing again and again, reinforcing. Talk about that. What do you notice with dogs? What do you notice with people?
So consistency is everything. If you're consistent, you will create muscle memory. You will create habits that last a lifetime. So without a doubt, I think one of the most important things with dog training is being consistent, starting where you were yesterday, maybe, and then improving, building upon that. So with dogs, I always want to make sure I quickly do something to always get their attention, get them to understand what we're about to do, and then I can start to train. And the same thing goes. You did an introduction for this podcast. You got everybody's attention. You explained what's about to happen, and then now we can have a conversation and educate and discuss some things. So, consistency for me is a lot about your day-to-day routine. I need to know that every hour I should be doing something. I have a whiteboard that breaks down every hour of the day, and it keeps me consistently taking action. Every day is an opportunity to take action, to move forward. If you don't take action, you're moving backwards. And same thing with your dog. Now, here's the difference between a dog and a human. A dog, like my dog Blue, a German Shepherd, he's waiting for this podcast to be over so we can go do some stuff. He wants to learn. He's excited. Your typical employee or entrepreneur isn't waiting for this podcast to be over so they can go try to implement stuff in their business necessarily. Some people are. We got some German Shepherds watching this show, but at the same time, we got a few labs and golden retrievers that are just laying down. I'm just happy to be here. This is great. I got a house over my head, and my German Shepherd knows that nothing's happened in this house. We need to get out of the house. We need to go meet people. We need to go on an adventure. We got to get out and about. What are we learning? How are we growing? What am I going to get to do today? And that's how I feel as an entrepreneur. So when you create that consistency to take action, you really have a day-to-day routine that is like out of this world. I'm assuming some of the books you have behind you, you got to have 10X rule or something by Grant Cardone. Like, I really am all about 10Xing the amount of stuff I do every day. By all means, one thing that's led me to be very consistent, Mark Cuban's book, it's like 50 pages. He has a line in there that stays with me forever, and I read it many years ago, is at any given moment, there's somebody out there doing exactly what you're trying to do, except for they're working harder than you to put you out of business. Isn't that great? And that's how he wrote it. And when he said, isn't that great? I said, you know what? I'm going to be that guy that works harder than my competition to put him out of business. And I've been hustling with this consistent entrepreneurship of take action every day for years now. I'm like 13 years in as a dog trainer and an entrepreneur, learning about as much stuff as possible. So I think one of the things that's led me to coaching is that pivotal moment of being able to say, I've built all this, I've learned all this, now I can help more people. So let's just do it,
I've heard in the things we did in getting ready for the show, and a couple little threads here, that is something maybe worth probing into, and that's there are definitely different personalities of dogs and personalities of people and entrepreneurs, and they kind of lead to different approaches and a different bag of tricks for each one. What do you notice about that sort of range and type?
So I love that you're hitting on that, because I would say the two categories of dogs would break down into overly excited, high energy, right? It might be more on the triggered, reactive, aggressive, weight. And then you have the submissive, right? You've got the submissive. They always have the tail between their legs. They're always hunched. They're unsure. They're untrusting. They come on to they come closer, slower. So if we break down business owners and humans the same way, I think you're going to have somebody that might be like me. I'm excited, I'm pumped. I'm ready to be here. I'm excited to wake up. I'm excited to have an opportunity today to take action. You also have people that wake up and are afraid to take action. They don't know what to do. Their tail's between their legs. They're nervous. They're scared. And they're like, the crawling over is slowly getting onto a trend. I got onto TikTok almost a year ago. I would say March and April. So, getting to a year at this point. I know people that still haven't got on TikTok yet. I heard Parlor was going around. I saw everybody posting. I got on it. I don't know what it's about yet. I heard a little bit, but I'm on it. I heard LinkedIn is having a comeback, so I went and started posting on my LinkedIn. Like, I think there are people that are going to be the high energy and then the low energy, extrovert, introvert. But I think the truth is not everybody fits on one of those. I think we all kind of fluctuate. Some days I might feel introverted and I'm like, I got to reflect today. Other days I'm very go-getter. So yeah, I think that's how people break down is submissive or extremely maybe dominant or just high energy or something like that. Yeah, you got to find your balance though. When do you act those ways? And then, when can you get out of your shell?
Yeah, it's interesting about all of these habits and thinking about what can we learn from that, going back to the simple core of people. When the time zone, the daylight savings time changed, right, recently, our dogs didn't know what that was. And so if they were used to bugging us for dinner at 6, now they're coming to bug us for dinner at 5. And because they like to be a little bit early and because they can sense it, it's like 10 to 5 and they're coming. We're like, dude, just chill out. We're not eating for an hour now. And they like can't get through it. And they're still like, what are we, a week later? They're not adjusted yet. They're still bugging us for food early, right? The same thing true with changing the time that they go outside or come back. And like they have all of these natural triggers. Our son comes over for a visit. He lives on the East Coast now, but he was in town and he's here. He walks in the house. They're like, oh, we're going to get a walk because that was his thing, everything means something. And they notice like little things. Oh, wait, he's putting on his shoes. Does that mean there's a walk? Could I go in the car? And one dog's really into it. And the other dog's kind of like, this is a nice warm spot. I'm laying on the floor. It's awesome. One is an enthusiastic eater. The other's nervous. He's like, are you trying to trick me? Are you trying to lure me? Is this a real thing? Is this a safe treat?
You bring up a good point, which is how dogs reacted to daylight savings time. You could even go bigger and say how they reacted to the COVID pandemic and the whole quarantine. I would say the two biggest things that I noticed are most of the dogs for the first 4 to 6 months had no clue what was going on. They were still operating at full drive. Stage 2 was now they're learning from the new norms, the new routine, and their environment, which becomes this concept of selected socialization. Dogs learn from their core friends that they socialize with as dogs. They're going to be whatever those 5 personalities are, more or less, and then the environment at home. So guess what? People had the same thing. Some entrepreneurs were going hard for 6 months, and then it started to really affect them. I heard somebody say about the number one thing that really happened during the last year is this was the first time that everybody had a pattern reset. If you used to go to the gym, if you used to go to a store and go shopping once a week, if you were going to the bar every weekend and drinking, this is the first time where everyone's had that pattern of behavioral reset. And it also started to happen with dogs because the number one phone call I got is, thank God you're open. My dog has really been affected by this whole quarantine thing. He's developed some bad behaviors because your dog's been stuck in the house with all this energy and it doesn't understand why you don't go out, why we're not going to the park, why we don't do stuff so all these things have really affected us as well as the dogs, but you can see it very specifically with dogs when it comes down to the routine, the environment, and the fact that they don't know until it really affects them a few months later, because they're surrounded by us, but they had no clue what hit them. They were just excited to wake up every day still.
Yeah. Our dogs are definitely happier now that we're home more, right? I would be on the road constantly, and now we're home. It also means, though, they get less individual attention from my wife, who tends to be home more than I am home. But now we're both home, and then she's giving attention, some personal time, attention to me, attention to the dogs, but they're getting a little bit less in that realm. And then we're home more, which means in general they're happier. And in our world with little dogs, that means they're not peeing on stuff in the house like they used to. We used to have much more often. We'd go away for a few hours. We'd come back. We'd be like, they peed in the living room again. What the hell? Right? And they're bored, pissed, like whatever, right? Literally pissed. So definitely some of that stuff's changed up in their pattern and what feels good to them and like that kind of thing. I think the same thing is true. We're hearing with all of our teams. I'm sick of being on Zoom. Good. Don't do every meeting on Zoom. Have a phone call. Take a walk. I've done a couple of walking coaching sessions with some of my local area CEOs. We've been doing some outdoor planning sessions with our CEOs in the area and our leadership teams that are kind of within driving distance. And that still feels pretty good for many of us. But there is definitely a difference in what feels comfortable, and that affects performance, right?
Comfortability is a huge factor in it. And the truth is, I mean, I know myself, I gained a little bit of weight, you know. The reality is it was very comfortable to be at home, to be able to say we're almost, grounded and we just got to stay at home and work from home. And, the whole wear your sweatpants to work concept. And I think people are very comfortable, and that leads to complacency within your own mediocrity. And then you get stuck, and then now you're afraid to take action and you don't know what you need to do to get out of your hole. So yeah, comfortability. So I live in a beach house in California. I'm in Sunset Beach. It's beautiful here. This was one of my dreams. I wanted to live in Orange County. I'm from the East Coast. I watched the OC as a child, and I wanted to have a beach house. This was like my dream. And now that I'm here, within the first 6 months, I told a few of my buddies, I said, I got to get out of here. I got to find somewhere else to go. I need to find somewhere else that makes me uncomfortable because I'm too comfortable here. I live by the beach. My toes are in the sand if I want. I can watch the sunset. It makes me motivated, but it also can make me comfortable, and I know that about myself. So I'm looking for the next scary move for what I want to do. And that's just the way that my brain works, is I need to kind of constantly focus on something that keeps me out of being comfortable. My whole family's on the East Coast. I'm ashamed to say it, but I don't go home and visit that often because it's so comfortable. They've got, a beautiful property. I could go home and live there and be happy, like a lot of people are doing right now. And I'm glad that I don't want to be comfortable, and I don't want to, have that state of mind, because it challenges me to do more. Which is the fun part of being an entrepreneur. So I think, yeah.
Well, I think we're getting some great nuggets here. Let me tell folks a little bit more where to find out information from you. But I want to first let you know, if you like the show, if you're getting some value out of it, of course, you can like it and subscribe to it. That's good for both of us. If you subscribe, you'll get a couple of shows a week from us, and you'll get the notice and updates so you can follow all of them. Everything to do with scaling up and your leadership and growing, that kind of thing. We do new shows every week. If we can help you find a coach of any kind in the scaling up world, you'll find those past shows and more at scalingcoach.com. You can send us an email as well to info@scalingcoach.com. You'll find our 230 episodes, free downloads of all the tools, and we'll even give you a copy of the Scaling Up book for free at scalingcoach.com. I want to give thanks, a big shout out to Vern Harnish, the author and creator of the Scaling Up framework and the original Rockefeller Habits, and to Lucy Summers, who's in the background producing the show, scheduling, getting our guests ready, that kind of thing, promoting the show and getting. The audio is edited by Albert Burge for our shows at Podfly Productions, and our show notes are written up by Ein Kadina and proofread by Tim McGowan. If you want to get more information about Dylan Blau, you'll go to Selling with Social Media if you want to do those social media sessions. Sounds like you'll give away those with some limitations, time allowing. And you'll also find him on Instagram at We Are Dog Training. Instagram handle We Are Dog Training, and I think both of those are pretty fun. I love kind of this fresh approach to thinking about it. Think about how you and your team are simple, responding to stimulus, whether you're engaged or not, whether you have people's attention or not, where your attention is going. Are you consistent? Is there a clear motivation, and what behavior are you trying to get out of people that leads to the performance? Those are the things that I am taking away and hearing in all of this.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you had me here. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show. It's fun to take a new approach at all of this world of coaching and training and performance. And thanks to all of our listeners and viewers who come from. So now with COVID, almost all of our shows are now live streamed first and then released on iTunes, Stitcher, in audio later. So I'm really glad to have this venue and have people's attention. I hope it was entertaining and worth your time, that it was valuable for all of you. And just like Dylan talked about getting in sync with and noticing and responding, he talked about a little Tai Chi dance with his dog. Think about what are the subtle cues? Like, how do you get in sync with the people that you work with, your business partners, the people in your leadership team, the people in your teams? How do you read them and start to feel their vibe and that kind of thing? I think there's real opportunity there.
I'll quickly touch on that and say part of it is having fun. If you're having fun as an entrepreneur, a business owner, whatever you're doing with dog training, with life, if you have fun, that's how you get into that flow. And you ultimately are able to really engage with your employees, with your team, with yourself, with your business, with your life, with your family, with your kids. But you got to have fun with it. That's one of the core elements. Is I just have so much fun as a dog trainer and a business owner that it becomes a dance, a flow, and people just love to watch it happen. And I'm so glad that we were able to discuss some of these things today. This is amazing, and by all means, thank you so much, and your entire team is awesome.
On that note, get out there, have some fun. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Keeps coming up.